the heart of Vatican City, the spiritual epicenter of over 1.3 billion Catholics worldwide, one man stands at the helm of the Church, Pope Francis. But despite the gravity of his responsibilities and the reverence in which he is held, he is still just a man, mortal, frail, and subject to the same vulnerabilities as any of us.
Popolo ucraino, per la pace che da tempo chiediamo al Signore.
Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in 1936, is 87 years old, and his health has been the subject of quiet concern for some time. While he continues to project vigor and devotion, it's undeniable that the weight of years and the pressures of his papacy have taken their toll. What if, like many of his predecessors, he were to fall ill? Throughout the history of the papacy, health challenges have been a constant companion for the men who wear the papal white. Pope John Paul II famously struggled with Parkinson's disease, his body visibly deteriorating in his final years, while Pope Benedict XVI, citing old age, resigned, the first pope to do so in nearly 600 years. The role of pope, demanding physically, mentally, and emotionally, often magnifies even the smallest of ailments. Pope Francis is no stranger to health battles. As a young man in Argentina, he suffered a severe lung infection, which led to the removal of part of his lung. While this hasn't seemed to slow him down, it raises concerns about the potential complications related to respiratory health as he ages. In 2021, Francis underwent surgery for diverticulitis, a common digestive condition that, while treatable, becomes more dangerous as a person ages. He spent 10 days recovering in Rome's Gemelli Hospital, marking one of the few times the Vatican had to openly address the Pope's health. Being the Pope is not a simple task, and it isn't just a ceremonial title. The Pope is the Bishop of Rome, the head of the Catholic Church, and a global religious leader who wields immense spiritual and political influence. He travels frequently, often to regions in political turmoil or humanitarian crisis. He leads Mass, meets world leaders, and navigates the intricate inner workings of the Vatican's political landscape. Each of these responsibilities can add stress to the body and mind. With every journey, every speech, and every pastoral visit, Francis carries not just the weight of the Church, but the world's problems on his shoulders. Stress, in turn, can exacerbate existing health conditions, especially in the elderly. Could these pressures be quietly accelerating health issues we're not fully aware of? So what health challenges might the future hold for Pope Francis? At his age, a number of issues are common among men of his generation. One of the primary concerns is his cardiovascular health. Heart disease is the leading cause of death worldwide, and elderly men, particularly those in high-stress roles, are at elevated risk. Symptoms of heart disease can often be masked or subtle, such as fatigue, shortness of breath, or chest pain. In a role as demanding as the papacy, these signs might be overlooked or dismissed. Another major concern is mobility. In recent months, there have been reports of Pope Francis walking with a noticeable limp, stemming from sciatica, a nerve condition that causes pain down the lower back and legs. The Vatican has been discreet about the severity of this condition, but for someone in Francis' position, where public appearances and travel are key components of his work, it could pose a serious challenge to his future ability to carry out his duties. While Francis's mind remains sharp, the question of neurological health is another silent worry. The world watched as Pope John Paul II deteriorated from Parkinson's, raising the concern that similar neurodegenerative conditions could affect future popes. Alzheimer's and dementia are growing health risks for people over 80, especially for those in high-stress, high-profile positions. But as delicate as these topics may be, the Vatican is well prepared. The institution itself is ancient, accustomed to dealing with the frailty of its leaders. In fact, behind the grand walls of the Vatican, quiet contingency plans are always in place. The death, resignation, or incapacitation of a pope does not halt the progress of the Church. The College of Cardinals, a centuries-old institution, stands ready to elect a new leader when the time comes. In 2013, Pope Benedict XVI shocked the world by becoming the first pope to resign in 6 centuries, citing his deteriorating health.
Non iam aptas esset munus Petrinum eque administrandum. Bene consciusum hoc munus secundum suam essentiam spiritualem non solum accendo et loquendo exequi debere, sed non minus patiendo et orando.
Should Pope Francis face a similar decision, the Church has a precedent, but it would undoubtedly spark questions and debate. Pope Francis has often spoken about his own mortality with a mixture of pragmatism and grace. He has hinted that he may not hold the papacy until death, much like his predecessor Benedict.
Some things off his chest. First, there is no cancer.
A me non l'hanno detto.
At least he says the doctors haven't told me. He described a leg fracture that has kept him from making a trip to Africa, but says he'll be ready to travel soon.
Farò quello del Canada.
I will do the trip to Canada, because the doctor told me with 20 more days you will recover.
For now, he continues to fulfill his duties, uniting the Church and guiding his flock.
Per il momento no, davvero.
For the moment, no, but the time will come when I see that I can't do it, and I will follow the great example of Benedict.
Ce la faccio, lo farò.
And when might that be?
Non sappiamo. Dio dirà.
We don't know, he says. God will say.
But the question remains, what will happen if illness forces him to step aside? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain, no matter what the gibber holds, Pope Francis will leave a legacy of humility, service, and compassion. And when the time comes for him to rest, the Church and the world will surely feel his absence. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life and health of Gibber Francis. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it to help others explore these important moments in history.